Welcome to this week's Productivity Enhancer. Today we're going to work with some different scenes within the Appearance tab, and the next time you have to present your model, hopefully you'll have a few different options to make your model look really nice. So for the purpose of this week's WPE, I've made a quick mock-up of a bicycle suspension fork. However, we're not going to work with the assembly at all today, we're just going to work with the appearances of it. So right now this fork is just in the standard SolidWorks default environment. There's nothing wrong with it, however we can make a few adjustments to make it look a little better. So if we go under our Appearance tab, you can see that we have Scene, Lights, Camera, and Walkthrough is nested under Camera, and then we have Snapshots. So to change our scene, we're going to expand the Scene tab, and you can see we have Background and Environment. Right now the background default is soft boxed, and the environment default is 3-point beige. So to alter our scene, all we do is right-click on one of these, it doesn't matter. By right-clicking on both of them, they both take you to the same exact property manager. So we're in the Edit Scene Property Manager, and let's just go through some of these functions. So here you see Background, here Environment. Let's start with Background. The background is just a two-dimensional backdrop to help your model stand out. We have a couple different options. Right now it's set to default Image. We can also use None, which makes just a plain white background. We can also use Color, and we can select from a color palette here. We can make it orange, that's pretty obnoxious. We can make it blue, also pretty obnoxious. So let's just keep it at white for now and keep on checking out what we have. So under color we have gradient, and that creates a gradient lighting effect, meaning that the light source looks like it's somewhere up here, and the light slowly disappears until it becomes black on the bottom, creating a gradient effect. You can change that gradient color just as you can change the whole background color. And now we still have the light fading until it becomes that pure color down here. You get the idea. Next we have Image, which was our default, so we can skip that. And let's move on to Use Environment. And when we use Environment, it allows us to use a three-dimensional spherical background. And that's exactly what the environment is. If the backdrop is 2D, think of the environment as three-dimensional and spherical. So whatever environment is selected when you chose Use Environment, your background will default to that 3-point beige. So you can always change it. You can check out 3-point blue. You can cycle through a few more, change your environment, ambient white, studio with fill lights, etc., etc. You can cycle through those on your own and check them out and see which one works best for you. But when you choose Use Environment for your background, that environment's going to take the place of the background. So let's bring this back to Image. So when we do bring it back to Image, you can see that there's a spot to browse to a photo. So let's browse to a photo. I put one right on my desktop here. And you can use any photograph that you'd like for your background. This is just kind of a desert landscape. And once you browse to that photograph, then it will become your background. Once again, if you use that image in background, it will only be a two-dimensional background. However, if you use the environment and browse to that same photograph, you can see that that background becomes spherical, and you can manipulate it by rotating, and you can see that it just wraps itself around until it meets at the edges, and it creates more of a three-dimensional environment that you can place your model in. So I personally don't like this environment for this fork, so we just go up to our Appearances, Scenes, and Decals tab, and we can choose any one of these that we want. How about Factory? So if you notice, we're brought back to a two-dimensional background, and the reason for that is that these backgrounds and environments, they're just tossed in this folder. I think the three-dimensional environments are up top, and the two-dimensional backgrounds are on the bottom, but there doesn't seem to be much rhyme or reason as to the ordering of these. So let's settle on 3-point orange, and take a look at our Floor tab that's hidden. So under our Floor tab, we can have floor reflections, which is exactly what it sounds like. We have a reflection on the floor. And it gives us an option on where to set the floor. You can also manipulate where to set the floor by moving this little toggle up and down. So you can see that the reflection is moving based on the location of the floor coordinates. All of that can be changed by changing the axis. You can have it on the XY axis. And now our floor is along the XY axis, making our reflection correspond to that axis. We also have the XZ axis, which is where it was before. We have the YZ, which puts it on its side. And you can also select a plane from your Feature Manager design tree. You can select the top plane or the right plane. It's all up to you. And finally, the bottom view plane is the same as the XZ plane. You can offset the floor by selecting a plane. Let's select the top plane and offset it by 100 millimeters. And as you can see, our floor is this top plane here, offset by 100 millimeters. You can also offset to geometry, and that uses the geometry of the assembly or the part to create the location of the floor. Most of the time, you're probably just going to select the bottom view plane with a 0 offset, but those options are all there. We explored the rotation device on this toggle before, but by grabbing the orange circle and spinning our environment around, you can actually see that it is a spherical environment. And although the assembly stays in one spot, the environment changes around it to whichever place you want it. You can constrain that under the Advanced tab by setting your environment rotation numerically, but 9 times out of 10 it's going to be easier just to grab your toggle and switch it back and forth. And you can see those numbers changing as we rotate. Right now the floor is auto-sized, but we can unclick that and specify the width and depth of the floor. And you can also use the handy-dandy dial and change the rotation of the floor as well. If you have a scene that you've created and you want to use it over and over again, you can save it to a specific file, and then you can browse to it and use it, and then all the settings you made in that previous model or assembly will be saved and ready to use for this one. This is also where you save that scene. If you've created one that you like, just click Save Scene, and you can save it wherever you need to access again. We won't do that because this is just a stock scene. So there you go. SolidWorks provides you with really good options that can help make your model pop for presentation. You do want that floor reflection. And then let's accept this one, and that will become your new model environment, and it will stay there however long you want it to until you change it. PhotoView 360 gives you a whole different set of options, but that'll have to wait for another productivity enhancer. But hopefully the next time you have to render images of your assemblies, you'll be able to tweak the backgrounds and environments to snazz it up a little bit. So thanks for watching this week's Productivity Enhancer. Until next time.